Welcome to the John and Heidi Show podcast, brought to you by DirecTV, 1-800-259-7646. Also brought to you by RVWheelator.com. If you're buying an RV or selling an RV, check out RVWheelator.com and the Dollar Shave Club. Here's John and Heidi.
Thanks for listening on a Friday. Hey, baby, how you doing?
I'm awesome. It's Friday.
I know. How could you be anything but? And it's cow chip throwing day today.
Really?
That's one of the many things happening today. We'll tell you all about that later in the program. Also, going to be visiting about fracking later in the show as well. You know what fracking is?
I have an idea.
It has to do with
oil.
Extracting oil from the ground. Going to be visiting with Greg-Kozera. He is an expert about fracking, and fracking is getting a bad name in the news, but he's saying, hey, it's a good thing. It's not a bad thing. So going to chat about that and how that ties to your gas bill as well when you're paying at the pump. So going to be chatting with Greg later in the program. And a Malaysia man was a bit suspicious after he got his latest telephone bill. It seemed a bit steep. He might be right. Guess what the total was on his phone bill?
What?
$218 trillion. I'm not certain, but I think you might have made a mistake. We don't make mistakes, sir. Would you like to just take that out of your account, or you want to send a check? $218 trillion. Wow, that's a crazy phone bill.
That's a lot of long-distance phone calls.
Yes, it is. Coming up, we're going to talk about somebody that's eating mud and very healthy. So I don't know if that's a good thing, but interesting story on the way.
This portion of the program is brought to you by Dollar Shave Club. Get razors for $1 a month plus a few bucks shipping, so you can enjoy fresh razors every month for as little as $3. Learn more at dollarshaveclub.com/radio.
Heidi, do you know what mud tastes like? Do you know what dirt, like, have you ever gotten...
Yeah, I've gotten it in my mouth. Not that I eat it or I've ever eaten it, but I do know what it tastes like.
Exactly. I was going to just say the same thing, because it's not like I've ever took a spoon and stuck it in the mud and go,
right,
this is good. But I can tell you, I was working out in the yard one time and had mud all over the place, and I got some on my hand, and when I took a drink, some of that mud went in my mouth. I was like, ugh, tastes like mud. But doctors in Mongolia, they're baffled by a 19-year-old girl who's been eating mud since she was 7, so for 12 years, and she's perfectly healthy. They're saying that, she eats mud on a regular basis, like almost every day, for 12 years, rather, since she was 7. She's 19 now, perfectly healthy.
Well, I mean, it's just
so she's eating
dirt.
Mud. Yeah, it's dirt, but you wouldn't think you'd be okay from just eating mud. So I don't know if she eats that mud with other stuff, like on a cracker. I have no idea how she eats it. But I'm just saying, if you ever get a little mud in your mouth, you got nothing to worry about, unless you're doing it for more than 12 years, apparently. Coming up, we're going to talk about ATMs and an interesting story on the segment, You Know It's True Because You Heard It on the Radio. That's on the way.
This portion of the program is brought to you by RVWheelator.com. If you want to buy or sell an RV, go to RVWheelator.com. List your RV for free. Learn more at RVWheelator.com.
Have you ever been, ripped off on the street, Heidi, or,
No.
hustled? I haven't either. I think it's because we don't live, in a big city where that kind of stuff happens. But listen to this story. There was a bank chairman that was hustled. He lost his ATM card in front of his own bank. Now, he's got millions of dollars. He's a chairman of one of Europe's largest banks. And it's crazy because George Mathewson, chairman of the Royal Bank of Scotland, was robbed at one of his own ATMs after falling for a cheap street hustle. He was drawing some cash from a central London machine when 2 con men approached from behind. They carefully noted his personal ID, and then they waited for the machine to spit out his card before tapping him on the shoulder to tell him, "Sir, you dropped £5 note." It's like $7. His inclination was to bend down and pick it up, supposedly the dropped money. That's when the assailants reached over and grabbed his bank card and took off. Fortunately, the bank chairman was unhurt. The robbers didn't get any of his money because he called the police right away and canceled his card. But that's how they got his card, is they watched over his shoulder, watched the PIN number, and said, "Oh, sir, you dropped this." And he noticed that they took it, and they took off running. But if he hadn't noticed that they took it...
Well, if they hadn't taken off running, it might not have been much of a tip-off. If they would have just casually walked away and said, "Have a nice day, sir," he probably wouldn't have noticed for quite some time.
But how crazy is that these people... They thought
See,
this
I'm a little
through.
Disappointed in this story. When you said it was a street hustle, I thought you were thinking like the 3 cups. And he gave them his debit card to put in the cups. I was like, wow, what
Where
an
did
idiot.
it go now? I don't know. Good luck finding it, mister. Who's next? No, it wasn't that. It was him at an ATM, and I refer to it as an ATM because that's what they're called. And it drives me nuts when people call it an ATM machine because it's an automatic teller machine. That's what the M stands for. But people all the time are like, is there an ATM machine around here anywhere? You mean an automatic teller machine? Anyway, this guy got hustled. Coming up. That doesn't bother you at all, apparently.
It doesn't bother me at all.
Well,
not like it bothers you.
On the way, we're going to talk about something else that bothers me, and that's people who are on drugs. Going to chat about you coming up next.
The John and Heidi Show is brought to you in part by the Keystone Treatment Center.
This is your brain, and this is your brain on drugs. We share silly stories here on the program, but addiction is no joke. If you or someone you know suffers with an addiction to drugs or alcohol, make today the day you seek help.
Call toll-free 844-204-1055.
That's a toll-free number. Again?
844-204-1055.
And this is your brain on drugs. This has to be embarrassing for the NYPD. 4 New York City police officers were called to an apartment house in the Bronx concerning a landlord-tenant dispute. However, they became distracted by a teenager in the hallway smoking a joint, so they started to chase him. That's when a pit bull jumped out of nowhere and attacked the officers. And that's when gunfire broke out. 26 bullets later, 1 dead dog later, 1 bitten officer later, 3 other officers were wounded from one of the gunshots. And it all started because they went to break up a fight and they started chasing a kid with a joint. So they didn't even make it to the fight. 3 of the officers were wounded from each other's gunshots. That is nuts.
That's too bad.
So I think it's because of the secondhand smoke from that joint. they were all hopped up on whatever that was. Because how else could you explain that?
I don't know. That's too bad.
It is too bad. So it's sad that they were attacked by a dog, but it's even more sad they had to kill the dog. That's no good. So, not a good story. This is not really the kind of way to end,
I was going to say,
week, is it?
A bit of a downer.
I'm sorry. Well, I'll try to come up with a better story for Monday, but we do have your moment of duh on the way.
This portion of the program is brought to you by Keystone Treatment Center. Addiction is no laughing matter. Call Keystone Treatment Center toll-free at 1-844-204-1055.
Somewhere out there, somebody's doing something dumb, and a news reporter somewhere will report it, and we will steal that story and make it our own. And we have one right now. The pilot of an airliner from Canada who went to the washroom during a flight found himself locked out of the cockpit.
We talked about this.
Forcing them to, I don't know if we did, forcing them to remove the door from its hinges to let him back in. The airline says that within 30 minutes of the flight, with only 30 minutes of the flight to go, the pilot left the cockpit to go to the restroom, leaving the first officer in charge. But when he tried to get back in, the door was open. For about 10 minutes, passengers saw the pilot banging on the door and communicating with the cockpit through an internal telephone. Airline spokesperson says that no time at all during this flight were passengers in danger.
So couldn't the guy still in the cockpit have let him in?
Apparently there was an issue with that. I don't know what happened. So it took 30 minutes for him to
Because you'd think
get in
all
there.
he'd have to do is get up out of his chair and turn the doorknob.
You'd think so. I don't know what was going on in the cockpit. I have no idea. All I know is this guy was locked out. So there's your moment of duh. If
That'd
you do
be
something,
embarrassing,
oh,
wouldn't
that'd
it?
be really embarrassing. If you do something dumb, we just might talk about it right here on the John and Heidi Show.
The Scoop of the Day is brought to you by Wells Blue Bunny. If you want delicious ice cream, be sure to look for the Blue Bunny. Sure to have your favorite flavors. Learn more at bluebunny.com.
Now, your Scoop of the Day. A panda at a zoo in Taipei is accused of faking a pregnancy to get better food and accommodations.
Whatever. No way.
Yeah. Expectant pandas are moved to air-conditioned rooms and given more buns, more fruit, and bamboo. Keepers were excited when a giant panda, Yan Yan, began exhibiting signs of pregnancy. Ultrasound scans determined that Yan Yan was not pregnant. But Yan Yan is pretty smart because Yan Yan was paying attention and said, hey, when these guys do that, they get better stuff. I'm going to do that.
There's no way. You don't think that's really what was going on.
She probably didn't realize she was faking a pregnancy. She was just exhibiting the same behaviors as those who were treated nicely. Because that is treated is repeated, Heidi. See? That's how you train a kid or a dog or even a panda. If it's treated, it will be repeated. A Vancouver, Washington man was taken into custody after a standoff with police when he serenaded them while standing in front of his house naked and playing a banjo.
Oh, that's nice.
Yeah, police were called
At least
to
he
the
gave them some entertainment.
The police were called to the man's neighborhood because he was allegedly walking around with a knife Although when they got there, he just had a banjo and nothing else. What song do you think he was playing? I have
no idea. I think that's the only song I know on the banjo. So.
I think banjo music is actually pretty cool.
Oh my gosh,
Steve
awful.
Martin. Steve Martin plays the banjo.
Yeah.
And you love Steve Martin.
I love Steve Martin. I don't love the banjo.
All right. An elementary school teacher has been allowed to keep his $90,000 a year job despite being late for work 111 times in 2 years.
Oh.
15-year veteran teacher Arnold Anderson explains that breakfast is to blame for his tardiness. He says, I have a bad habit of eating breakfast in the morning and losing track of time. 111 times, apparently. $90,000 a year being a teacher, that's not as bad as people are always complaining that teachers don't make enough. That's a pretty good take right there. I'm just saying.
That's a very good living.
All right. Bosses who notice an employee's performance drop in one aspect of the job should not immediately think that they're slacking off. A study from the University of Toronto professors discovered that in many cases, employees just shift and refocus their efforts in different areas, and that should be considered a positive sign of adaptability. So if you see somebody that used to always do this and they quit doing that, look at everything else they do, because maybe they picked up other chores and they let those slide because the other ones are more important. That makes a lot of sense. Researchers at the Royal Veterinary College in Hatfield, England, are studying why ostriches are able to run so fast. Really?
Why?
The birds can do about 20 miles an hour on a good day, despite the fact that they weigh over 200 pounds. They run with a very awkward gait, kind of like me.
Do they really weigh over 200 pounds? I had no idea.
So how do you research something like this? Well, the team is basically doing this. They're watching 15 ostriches running on treadmills all day long. I can only imagine these ostriches strapped on a treadmill. Like, what are we doing? Let's go pretend to be pandas that are pregnant.
There's nothing better that they could possibly be doing.
Apparently. While customer loyalty may be in short supply with bank fees soaring and consumers are facing tough decisions as they consider fleeing their long-time banking relationship over lower service fees. A recent poll conducted by Princeton, their Survey Research Associates International team, found that a majority of Americans say they would rather switch banks than pay higher banking fees.
Agreed.
I know several people who, when banking fees started going up at one place, they went somewhere else.
Yep.
So it makes sense because that is the way as a...
Honestly, there are no real personal relationships with a bank anymore.
There used to
anyway. There used to be back in the day.
Oh. But
today, it's just as easy to leave a bank and...
Well, and if you've got a bank that you enjoy working with, keep working with them because that's good. If you have that relationship, that's awesome. But I can see what Heidi's saying.
Banks just don't put the customer first anymore.
Not all. There are some that are really good, but there are a lot of them that it's kind of like it's just an assembly line of, put your money in, get out of here. I got the next person to wait on. And I've felt that way several times. I was telling our son about that. And we drove away, and I said, it's just not the way it used to be. He goes, well, she wasn't rude. I said, no, but she wasn't polite either.
Right.
I'm like, I was trying to have small talk, and she's like, did you need something else? I was like, no, apparently not.
Sorry.
See ya. Sorry. All right, hey, we got our strange law. In Minneapolis, Minnesota, if you double park, they can put you on a chain gang. Wow. It's a bit extreme. Don't double park in Minneapolis. That's your strange law, and this has been your Scoop of the Day.
This portion of the program is brought to you by RoughToughKennels.com. Dog kennels and accessories sent to your front door wherever you live. Your dog deserves it. Learn more at RoughToughKennels.com.
Thank you so much for listening to the John and Heidi Show on a Friday. I've got a special guest on the line. I have GregKozera, and we're going to be chatting about fracking. Now, that might be a term some people have no clue what that is. Fracking is an industry term when they're drilling for oil. Is that correct, Greg?
Well, it's actually, it happens to every well after the drilling, and what it does is it's a process where we pump water and sand, or sometimes just straight nitrogen gas. It just cracks the rock deep underground, and it allows the oil and gas, kind of like creates a super highway to get it from the reservoir it's in to the well and up to the surface where we can use it for our vehicles or to heat our homes.
Very cool. Now, the thing that I think is interesting is I saw a headline that says, fracking is causing teens to drop out of high school. I'm like, what in the world? They're blaming that on fracking? Now, how in the world do we have teens dropping out of school because of fracking?
Yeah, it amazed me, but I guess there were a couple folks in Dartmouth or something. They did this study, and I guess they just looked at statistics. And for statistics, you can probably do anything you want to with them. But the reality is, in places where I live in West Virginia and do a lot of work in Pennsylvania, Ohio, and Virginia, the reality is we don't hire folks unless they're 21 years old, high school diploma, and can pass a drug test. And that's the way most of things are in the industry. But I guess there are groups out there that, for whatever reason, don't seem to like fracking and really don't understand it. But more importantly, you just seem like you're trying to make something negative out of a pretty positive thing, because in all these areas back east, what used to be the Rust Belt is really been energized. I mean, we're talking about jobs and steel mills reopening in Ohio, and in the Pittsburgh area where I happen to be today, it's vibrant. I mean, it's exciting to see what was kind of dead in the water, and all of a sudden, buildings are being built. The highways are busy with traffic. It's been exciting to watch our country, John, go from energy poor and depending on OPEC and Russia for our energy to where we're the energy gorilla of the planet. Most your listeners may not realize this, that we're the leading natural gas producer in the world. And right today, we have the the largest natural gas field on the entire planet. Starts in New York State, runs under western Pennsylvania, eastern Ohio, and goes on into West Virginia, almost clear to Virginia. I mean, that is the biggest natural gas field on the world, and there's one called the Utica under that. It looks like it's going to be as big or bigger. I mean, and that doesn't even count what's going on in North Dakota. That doesn't count what's going on in Texas and Oklahoma and other places in the Rockies. It's exciting to watch this country suddenly turn itself around, and that's important for our military because we run on petroleum.
And it's important for our economy and important for our future, really, when you think about it. And it's funny to me when we talk about fracking, because the media has almost tried to make that like a naughty word. And I know it sounds pretty close to a naughty word, but it's like anytime they bring it up, it's the most negative story you can possibly think of. And even, like I said, the one article that I read where it said, it's causing kids to drop out of school. Why is the media so against fracking?
I think, my opinion, for what it's worth, is, for years we were this, we were dependent on, we needed OPEC for our oil. And all of a sudden, it seemed like just at the point where we began this whole energy independence thing about 7 years ago, we started to hear this stuff. And a lot of the anti-frack groups kind of brought this up. And the challenge was that whenever there's anything negative being said, our industry really didn't respond. I mean, as an engineer, I looked at it and I said, well, that's stupid. No one would believe that stuff. Well, if you don't tell people that, don't do this every day, that, hey, here's the truth, it doesn't happen. So we should have really gotten ahead of this thing and said, hey, we've done this since 1947. We've fracked over 2 million wells, and they still can't find a smoking gun where we've contaminated groundwater. So if you can do something 2 million times, it's probably pretty safe. And where I live, I've got wells all around me. I mean, literally. My dog and her golden retriever friend Candy roll in the grass with the well site. So, I wouldn't live among oil and gas wells if it was hazardous to our health.
I think what we need to do, maybe you and I could come up with a better word than fracking, because I think if they just, you need a good PR firm to spin this thing and come up with a better word, because like I said, they try to find a way to make that negative as much as they can. But now the real thing is, if there are kids that are dropping out of school to do this, wouldn't they probably, if there was no such thing as fracking, wouldn't they probably be dropping out to do something else? I don't think that it's the fracking that's causing them to drop out, is it?
No, and what the whole concept is of these two academics was, well, they've got all these good jobs, and people are leaving school early so they can get these good, high-paying jobs, and they're right about the high-paying jobs. But to get them, you really need not just a high school diploma. Well, you need a high school diploma to start. So, but that's their concept is, well, kids, they can go out and make $20 an hour. They're not going to stay in school. And I really don't see that. But really, what we do see is the recommendation I always have for young people is, look, get something, get your high school diploma, and we've got technical schools here in Ohio, West Virginia that have a 2-year tech program where you can get trained, and those folks men and women are coming out of those technical colleges, and they're landing these $40,000, $50,000 a year jobs to start.
Yeah.
And that's good stuff. And those are high-paying, long-term, career-type jobs. And that's really what folks ought to be focused on is welders. I mean, my gosh, if you get a trade in welding, you can name your own price almost back here.
That's awesome. Again, visiting with Greg Kozera, and you've spent a long time in the oil industry, but you've also, not necessarily the oil industry, what would you call it, the industry that you're in? Is it
oil and gas.
Oil and gas,
because we drill oil wells, we drill gas wells, and it's been an exciting. It really is. What really to me is neat is the folks in this industry, John, are kind of possibility thinkers. I mean, it really takes a lot of guts when you're thinking about putting a hole in the ground that's about 6 inches and hoping that you're going to be able to get it done, get it within budget, and you're actually going to make oil and gas out of that little hole, and it's going to be at a price that's profitable, and that's really one of our challenges today is we see it at the gasoline pumps. I don't know where you live. We're paying like $2.65 a gallon for gasoline. Last year we were paying over almost $4 a gallon.
I just read
the only reason our gasoline prices are down is because of us, the oil and gas industry in the United States of America. And OPEC hates it. Russia hates it. I mean, ISIS hates it because where do you think when they capture some of these wells in the Middle East, they're selling oil in the black market, and now they're getting about $40 a barrel for that stuff, where it used to be over $100. What do you think?
Well, and I just read an article that said gas prices are under $2 a gallon in a lot of places in the United States, and they're expecting that they'll be under $2 a gallon all over the country by Christmas time. And I think that we owe our local men and women that are doing the jobs that you're doing a big thank you for that, because like you were just saying, it's not because of, all that peace and, settled disagreements in the Middle East that's going down. That didn't happen. That hasn't happened. It's because we're actually extracting that from our own soil. So big thank you to your industry for helping make that happen.
Well, thank you. And we don't get very much of that. And really, most don't realize that that's where it comes from. But
exactly.
You're spot on, John. And, I've got a little bumper sticker on my car that says, fracking fuels this vehicle and yours too.
Yeah, definitely.
Without fracking, without oil and gas, and it is amazing that we've become that swing producer that, you go back 10 years and think, is that even possible? And we're drilling these wells horizontal, we're hydraulically fracturing these horizontal laterals, and it's amazing that we're creating these world-class wells right here in our own country.
And the neat thing is, next time, folks, when you're listening to the media and you hear them do a story about fracking, and you just pay attention, I bet it's going to be negative because they always try to do that, but just keep in mind that what fracking really is, and correct me if I'm wrong, it's a way to, once you're done with the well, to go in and get even more out of it when you're done, because by doing the fracking, you kind of squeeze a little more out. Is that right?
That's exactly right. You open up the reservoir so you can get that oil and gas to flow. And matter of fact, I've got a book out. It's called Just the Fracks, Man, The Truth About Hydrofracking and Next Great American Boom. It's written for the typical non-technical American. It's on Amazon, Barnes & Noble. It's at my website, GregKozera.com. But real simple read, but I put that out there so that Americans really understand what this stuff is and why it's important to them. Because think about it. We were at Disney World with the grandkids a couple times, and people are traveling. They're driving. I mean, my gosh, Disney World was packed, and people have money to spend.
Yeah.
And thanks to the oil and gas industry and American creativity and ingenuity, it's a good thing for us. More jobs and certainly a stronger economy.
Greg, thank you so much for taking time to chat with us. The book, Just the Fracks, Ma'am, where can I find that?
It's at Amazon, Barnes & Noble, all the online places, and if people go to my website, GregKozera.com, they can get it right there, and be happy to, any questions on any of that stuff, I'm always glad to do it, because we really appreciate this opportunity. It's always important that we put truth out there.
Yeah.
Because the truth doesn't change.
Well,
what's amazing is I tell people that, and this is the truth, that we've probably done the oil and gas industry. We talk about energy, but we've really done more for the environment than many of the groups that call themselves environmentalists. Because when you think about it, we're bringing these factories back to the United States to operate under our environmental law. We're creating wildlife habitats when we reclaim these wells. We've lowered CO2 to Kyoto Treaty levels without a carbon tax. I mean, all that stuff. My 92-year-old mother watched her gas bill go down $100 a month. Now,
nice.
To a senior citizen, that's huge, and that's the kind of stuff that the oil and gas industry does every day. We don't talk about that stuff, and we probably should do it.
Well, thank you so much for your time, but also thank you for doing what you're doing to get the word out to let people know that fracking is not a bad word. And also thank you for doing what you're doing to help get those gas prices down. I appreciate that every time I stick the little nozzle in my car.
Well, and I think we'll be able to keep them down there, and heck, I'll be able to take my grandkids back to Disney World this year.
There you go. Well, thank you again, Greg. You have a great day.
Hey, thank you. Appreciate you, John.
Definitely. Again, GregKozera right there, author of the book, Just the Fracks, Ma'am, The Truth About Hydrofracking and the Next Great American Boom. You can check that out on his website, GregKozera.com. Also, if there's a place that you like to buy books, they probably have it. If they don't, ask them to get it. Thank you again for joining us on a Friday right here on the John and Heidi Show.
This portion of the program is brought to you by CarsForSale.com. If you're in the market to buy a car, truck, or van, find thousands of vehicles to choose from at CarsForSale.com.
Today is a special day, Heidi. You know what today is?
What is today, John?
Today's Friday, which is awesome. It's September the 4th, and that means today is Bring Your Manners to Work Day. I'm going to just say you should do that every day. Bring your manners to work. You don't. You get your feet up on the desk, kick back, relaxing. Come on, Heidi. Where's your manners? Cow chip throwing days is starting today. I don't know where that is, but wherever it is, I'm not going to go there.
Okay, have you ever done that?
No.
Have you ever known anybody who's done that?
No.
I've known people who have done that. I've not done that.
Okay.
But I knew people who did. It's
really
disgusting.
Yeah, it is. National College Colors Day today, so whatever college you're a fan of, be sure to wear their colors today. Hope it's not too late. You're like, oh no, I'm wearing the wrong colors. Today's Hug Your Boss Day. It's also
That's nice.
National Lazy Boss Day. So if you have a lazy boss, be sure to hug them. National Wildlife Day and Newspaper Carrier Day. So were you ever a newspaper carrier, Heidi?
No.
You know, I was never officially a newspaper carrier, but my friend
Yeah,
had a
lazy
newspaper
friend.
route. No, he wasn't really lazy. He just realized that he was training for upper management. He realized that I was
Delegating.
a dummy, and he had a cool video game system, and we didn't have that. So he's like, we can play video games, but I really got to get this paper route done first. And I was like, well, I'll help you with that. And then it turned into helping him with that. And then he's like, tell you what, you just deliver the papers. I'm going to run home and start playing video games. And seriously, that's what it turned into.
And
I was
you're like, okay.
As I'm delivering his papers, I'm going, wait a minute. How did this happen?
You were just too
I know.
nice.
He was a good friend, and I was apparently an idiot, and I did it. So
He wasn't a good friend, though. That's the thing.
well, we were
if
friends.
he was a good friend, he wouldn't have done that.
It was still fun. I got to play Super Mario Brothers. Coming up, we're going to talk about if you're tired in the afternoons, what you're supposed to do. It's all on the way.
This portion of the program is brought to you by StoneGroupArchitects.com. It's more than a building. It's design and function working together. Check out the project portfolio at StoneGroupArchitects.com.
Do you feel tired in the afternoons, Heidi?
Yes.
You ever get that just sluggish
Most
feeling?
definitely.
Experts
yes.
say you can beat afternoon fatigue by doing some simple exercises to put a little pep in your step. Jacqueline Ferguson, psychotherapist, suggests these exercises. Head rolls. I'm going to try this while we're talking about it.
right.
Hey, you're doing it right now.
I am.
This is while you're seated
My
comfortably.
neck is cracked.
I was going to say, what's all that noise? Do you have bubble wrap over there? Pop, 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 pop. While you're seated comfortably, gently drop your head to your chest, then rotate your chin to your back
Just
5
hit
times.
my head on the microphone.
Well, this is bad. Do this 5 head rolls to your left. Repeat that 3 times for a total of 15 head rolls on each side. Should take about 30 seconds. Unless
And
you're
you'll be dizzy.
an idiot like me and you can't figure it out. So you're just going to move your head around. Next one is shoulder shrugs. While still seated, gently raise your right shoulder to your head 6 times. Then repeat with your left shoulder. Then rotate your right shoulder from front to back. Do the same with your left shoulder. Another 30 seconds. And this really is, I feel like I'm rowing a boat over here. This should be relieving muscle tension.
It's just making me more sleepy.
Yeah, it's exhausting. And then there's one other thing on here. If you're getting afternoon sluggishness, this is according to psychotherapist Jacqueline Ferguson. The last thing she says is waist bends. While seated, let your chin touch your chest. With your arms hanging at your sides, bend from the waist as far as you comfortably can and repeat that 6 times. You might want to let those around you know what you're doing so they don't think you're having a heart attack. Oh, no. What happened to Phyllis? Quick, call 911. I was just doing my waist bends.
Man.
So what do? You put your hair and you do this down and you put that. This is not comfortable. All right. They said to go as far as comfortable, and I could only go to about a half inch. That's not good. That's not good at all. So if you're feeling tired in the afternoons, you're supposed to do those things. Head rolls, shoulder shrugs, waist bends. Hey, and if you're too tired to go to class, wouldn't it be cool if you could just go whenever you feel like going? Well, I got a story about that for lazy pupils. That's on the way.
This portion of the program is brought to you by DirecTV, 1-800-259-7646. Also brought to you by RVWheelator.com. If you're buying an RV or selling an RV, check out RVWheelator.com and the Dollar Shave Club. Here's John and Heidi.
I have never been to Norway. Have you been to Norway?
I have not.
I've
been
not.
to Finland.
We should go sometime. But if you're too tired to get up for class, wouldn't it be good if you could just show up whenever you want? Norway is introducing late opening schools for lazy pupils who want to sleep until the afternoon. The City Council of Oslo, Norway, is offering students aged 16 to 18 late starts at certain schools. They'll be starting school in the afternoon. School officials think that pupils will do better academically if they're not forced to work while they're still sleeping in the mornings. So saying, hey, you know what, just sleep in. Don't worry about it.
So do they have to go later?
Yeah, they come in later and they stay later. But they're saying, instead of getting out of school at 3, why not come into school at 1 in the afternoon and stay until 6 or 7?
I don't think I'd want to do that, though. I wouldn't want to be there late. I'd rather get up and get it over with.
Same amount of time, either way. If you could do it without being groggy, that works for me. I would have done it because I was always working like full-time jobs during school, so it would have been nice to be able to come in late. Instead, I would go and sleep through my first class. That's why I know nothing about chemistry. I'm like, what? If I put this in here, is that going to explode? Coming up, we're going to talk about puppy dogs. That's on the way. Thanks for listening to the John and Heidi Show.
This portion of the program is brought to you by GunUp.com. If you're a gun lover, you'll be in heaven at GunUp.com. Built by experienced military veterans, shooting sports competitors, and publishing professionals. They have awesome stories and articles that are read by millions of gun enthusiasts. Check it out at GunUp.com.
I'm going to say 2 words, and you tell me if they are associated at all. Dogs and slippers.
No.
How are they usually associated?
Well, usually, like on TV in the old days, the dog would bring you your slippers.
Yeah. So what if I told you that now there are slippers made of dog?
Oh.
Yeah. Deborah Skegskirter makes slippers out of dog hair. She spent a year collecting 8 bags of dog hair from Riley and Rio, her golden retrievers.
Oh, it's not like she's skinning these dogs.
But she found a woman who could spin the dog hair into yarn and then knit the yarn into slippers.
I don't have a problem with that.
She washed the dog's hair, then teased it, carded it, and combed it before using her spinning wheel to turn it into yarn. She charges $50 per pair for dog hair slippers. That's a lot better than just dog slippers. I don't have
a problem with that.
So if there was just dog slippers, that's different, isn't it?
Why would anybody have a problem with that? That's no big deal.
I just think it's kind of gross.
Why? How is that any different than,
I don't know,
like alpaca?
Because I don't play with an alpaca and, roll around and have fun. Why were you laughing about alpaca? Is it just because it's a funny word?
I don't know. For some reason, it just caught me funny.
That's the first thing you can think of? Made with cotton, made with wool, made with alpaca. That's like
cotton is not an animal, you moron.
Are you sure? It comes from the cotton bat, doesn't it? I'm not sure what it is. I've heard of bats of cotton. All right, I'm just teasing, of course. I know what cotton's made out of. Coming up here in a bit, we've got something else, anything else to get off this subject. It's on the way. Thanks for listening to the John and Heidi Show.
This portion of the program is brought to you by Dollar Shave Club. You can get razors sent to your door each month for just $1, plus a couple of bucks shipping. It's an amazing deal. Log on to dollarshaveclub.com/radio to learn more. That's dollarshaveclub.com/radio. Now, back to the John and Heidi Show podcast.
This story is going to probably make some people mad, myself included. That's why I'm doing it right now, because I always try to end the show with something positive.
Something happy.
So I got something happy on the way. But right now, let's talk about this. Imagine if you needed brain surgery and you're told that you're going to have to wait a couple days because our brain surgeon is not available. He was suspended due to a lunchroom incident.
Huh.
Really? Is his second grade?
Well, I don't know. It depends on what the lunchroom incident was.
We'll tell you. That's the part that's going to really make you happy. This is from the United Kingdom National Health Service. They got this perfected system of government health care. We have a friend that actually works in the system, and she is so frustrated by it. She lives in England, hates it. Anyway, they're having a hard time finding neurosurgeons, and they have patients stacking up. On top of that, one of their leading brain surgeons, Dr. Terrence Hope, was suspended for 3 days. Now, seeing as the doctor is they're in such dire needs of doctors, you'd think that he must have done something terrible, right?
Yeah.
Must have been awful. I mean,
you would assume.
What did he do?
Somebody with a fork or something.
No, here's what happened. Are you ready for this?
Yes.
He took an extra crouton with his soup in the cafeteria.
What?
Yeah, he was getting croutons, and they let you have a certain number, and he took some extra ones, and they said, you can't do that. I want some croutons. Well, sorry, you can't do that.
Oh,
the London Telegraph says, so the guy took an extra crouton. Let him have a crouton. Are you serious?
Or charge him for the extra croutons or something.
The London Telegraph says, every so often a tale crops up of such flaring, dazzling idiocy that the entire nation is rendered quite breathless by it. Well put.
Yeah.
I could understand if he did something of like gross negligence where you're saying, hey, I mean, you cut the dude's top of his head off to fix his brain, you put it back on, his forehead's now on the back of his head. You really, if you did something wrong, you put it on backwards, that's a problem. But when you took an extra crouton,
that's insane.
That is somebody who has a job where they have a little too much power and they're flexing those muscles saying, look what I'm doing. Yeah. You're causing damage to people who need brain surgery. And you're giving this guy a 3-day suspension over a freaking crouton.
Yeah, it's probably a situation where they have a personal problem with that particular doctor.
I think that person should lose their job.
Oh, absolutely.
I really do. I think it's ridiculous.
Absolutely.
And who knows?
Not the crouton guy.
No, this is from a couple days ago, so this may have already been solved by now. But if you happen to know anybody in England, we'll have to reach out to our friend Georgina and ask her if she knows anything about this. It's ridiculous. Anyway, some happy thoughts are coming your way in a moment. Because it's a Friday, so we always want to end the program every day on a positive note, but especially on Fridays. So we've got a really good story coming up here in just a bit.
This portion of the program is brought to you by DirecTV. Call 1-800-259-7646. They have hundreds of channels to choose from, with many packages to fit your viewing desires. Learn more at 1-800-259-7646.
We always like to end things on a positive note here at the John and Heidi Show, and this is kind of a fun one, and I like this because I actually have a younger sister that is very, very pregnant right now. She's on bed rest. Jamie, love you. Hope everything goes well. Well, listen to this. After 9 months of pregnancy and many discomforts, a lot of expectant moms are willing to do just about anything to encourage that little one to come on out of there. And there's some old wives' tales that claim that there's success in a tasty dish being served down south. According to Yahoo Foods, since 1980, Scalini's Italian restaurant in Cobb County, Georgia, has been cooking up a recipe for eggplant parmesan that owners say bring on labor within 48 hours for hundreds of patrons every year.
Really?
A myriad of online testimonials, along with photos of hundreds of babies hung inside the restaurant. The photos are hung, not the babies are hung. And it contributes to the dish's lore. In fact, sometimes the action starts before the customer even gets to dessert. The restaurant is now making the recipe available online. So if you're expectant and you're trying to get that baby to come on out of there, I'm making that. I'm going to put a link to it on our Facebook page. Go to facebook.com/John and Heidi Show.
Have you ever had eggplant parmesan?
I haven't.
I've had it once and it wasn't good. So
well,
maybe I just had it at a bad
Let's
place.
try this and we'll see if maybe we can sneak some in for my sister. You know, is she in the hospital or is she home?
She's home.
Is she home? Well, we'll just bring it over then. What are we doing for dinner? I think we should do this. It's a good idea. All right. Time to say goodbye, Heidi.
Goodbye, Heidi.
Goodbye, everybody. Have a great weekend. We'll see you back here again on Monday. Thanks for listening to The John and Heidi Show.
Time now for the bonus break. Only available here on the John and Heidi Show podcast.
And your bonus break is brought to you by the Dollar Shave Club. I've been talking to folks who are using their Dollar Shave Club razors, and they love them as much as I do. If you have not yet had a chance to try them, you should try them, and it's so affordable. Here's the cool thing. Sign up and try it for a month. If you don't like it, just discontinue it. You don't have to do it forever. But if you sign up and you like it and you find it as convenient as I find it, you're going to keep doing it forever and ever and ever. The guy is brilliant that put this thing together. I mean, is there anybody at all that would miss going to the store to buy razors?
No.
And here's the thing that happens for us.
And they're so much more expensive at the store too.
Oh yeah, this is more affordable and it's more convenient.
Yeah.
What we used to do, here's what we used to do. Before, I would use razors until they were so dull they were basically pulling the hair out. And then I would tell Heidi, hey, I need some more razors. And then it'd be 3 weeks later I'd finally get them. Because I'm like, hey, did you get those razors? And now I don't have to concern Heidi with this at all. You don't ever have to go out and do that. Instead, it just happens that they show up automatically. It's like I have a personal assistant taking care of my face, which is pretty darn cool because I don't have any of that.
A personal assistant taking care of your face.
I mean,
That's
making
awesome.
sure that I'm silky smooth and looking good for my wife. What do you think of this sexy shave over here, huh? Hubba, hubba. If you would like to have that, a personal assistant taking care of your face, all you have to do is go to dollarshaveclub.com/radio. Good news, Heidi. People earning over $100,000 a year are almost twice as likely to apologize after an argument or mistake as those who earn $25,000 or less, according to a Zogby International survey. Even though I don't make that much, I apologize quite often, which means I'm destined for success.
There you go.
Probably not. An 80-year-old Toledo woman has been booked for unloading a shotgun on a man playing his radio too loud.
Whoa.
Lily Klaus is sitting in a Toledo jail cell for shooting at the man.
I would hope so.
After he refused to lower the volume on his car stereo outside of her home. Errant pellets from the 12-gauge round hit 2 children, but since the shotgun was purchased in 1959, as were the shells, they didn't have a whole lot of power to penetrate the kid's clothing even. The intended victim was not hit. Lily has been booked on charges of felonious assault and is being held without bail. She's 80. She's had this gun and those bullets in her house since 1959, and she finally decided to use it because the guy had his music too loud? Really? That's why you'd use it?
Wow.
That's nuts. This lady's got problems. A 2002 ruling by Oregon Supreme Court had a major impact on police for some time. The court ruled that all lawyers, including prosecutors, must obey the State Bar Association's nearly absolute prohibition against deceit. What this meant was law enforcement could not engage in undercover or sting operations and trick suspects. So, like child pornographers, they were getting away with their crimes because prosecutors and police couldn't pretend to be underage online. So, to get pedophiles, fortunately, before they had to put kids in harm's way. Now they've changed the rules, so this is a good thing.
Well, duh.
Yeah.
My gosh.
What?
That's insane.
I know, it's the rule. That's
that was
the rules,
an
baby.
awful law.
Raphael Morgan was test driving a Porsche when he got pulled over by the cops and ticketed for doing 60 in a 35. When he returned to the dealership, he quickly sped away as soon as the salesperson got out of the car. It wasn't that difficult for the cops to track the guy down because he had given the officer's address when he was ticketed. The cops drove to his home and found the Porsche outside and Raphael inside. So he stole the car, too.
Wow.
It was then that they arrested him, gave him a really dumb criminal excuse. He told them he didn't steal the car. He just drove it home to see if it would fit in his garage.
Yeah. I'm sure you did.
Yeah. So did it fit? And we're going to end things with this. If you were married in Texas, you might not be married.
What?
Bad news, if you're a married Texan, you might not be. Barbara Ann Radonovsky, a Houston lawyer and candidate for Attorney General, says that a 22-word clause in a 2005 constitutional amendment designed to ban gay marriages has inadvertently endangered the legal status of all marriages in the state of Texas. The amendment, overwhelmingly ratified by the Texas voters, declares that marriage in this state shall consist of the union of one man and one woman. But it goes on to say, this state or political subdivision of this state may not create or recognize any legal status identical or similar to marriage. And therein lies a problem. Radonovsky says that phrase and wording effectively eliminates all marriage in Texas, including common law marriages. She calls it a massive mistake and blames the current Attorney General, Greg Abbott, for allowing the language to become part of the Texas Constitution. She also says that another constitutional amendment may be necessary to reverse the problem. However, not everyone agrees. Kelly Shackelford, president of the Liberty Legal Institute in Plano, says it's a silly argument. Any lawsuit based on the wording of a section in a question would have about 1 in a trillion chances of being successful. So it sounds to me like we've got two politicians playing
of
politics.
course. Yeah.
And one trying to get her way and another trying to get his way. So it'll be interesting to see.
And one trying to make the other look bad, like always.
Yeah. So when she calls out that guy in particular, saying it's his fault.
Yeah.
The Attorney General.
I'm sure he wrote it.
Yeah. Well, but that's where she's blaming it on him because
Exactly.
he's the Attorney General. Do you have a friend running for that office, young lady?
Yeah, exactly.
It doesn't have anything on here about which party either of these people are, and I don't care. It doesn't matter to me.
It doesn't matter. It's just stupid.
It's not about the parties. It's about both of these people need to grow up and realize that, you know what, we've got much bigger things to worry about than some wording in some document. Mm-hmm. You want to fix things? I can give you a list of things that I would start with, and it certainly wouldn't be that. All right. That's going to do it for your bonus break. Hey, how does that go for ending things on a positive note?
That's fine. It's all good.
We were doing so darn good, too. I'm excited because we got a weekend upon us. Going to get out and do some fun things. I encourage you to do the same. It's a long weekend as well. It's a Labor Day weekend. Make sure you go out and have some fun with your family. Do some fun stuff. We're going to be doing that as well. Bonus break brought to you by Dollar Shave Club. Learn more at dollarshaveclub.com/radio.